So you were tuned in to the BS3 Radio YouTube page. We do this from time to time. We like to do videos talking about what's going on in sports. And we had a huge documentary last night, The Last Dance, talking about the 1997-98 Chicago Bulls. We got my man Courtney Harden. He got the Bulls jersey on, rocking that. We got Al High. I loving the background. He's going some rebranding. It's looking dope. But how's everybody doing?
Doing well. Doing very well.
Good.
Yeah,
good.
me too. Me too. Definitely doing well, man. Maintaining, staying safe.
Yeah, lay low.
Yep.
Wash your hands.
Right. Exactly.
Yes.
Do some of this. Do some of this right here. Make sure you go in between. You got to go in between too.
Yes.
And 20 seconds. 20 seconds.
20
seconds. Yep.
You got to. So, man, a huge documentary. We were waiting on this for a minute. A lot of us have been waiting. Jordan was taking a minute to do it. It's been 23 years. I'm assuming that's not a coincidence. 23 years. It's kind of Jordan's way, I think, of saying like, hey, I waited this many years because this is equal to my number. But we'll start off with you, Courtney. How excited were you when this documentary you knew it was coming out and it was coming out on Sunday?
Man, I was super excited, man. Just the times that we are in right now, we needed something like this because, there's no live sports. There's really not much of anything, really. I mean, we're doing podcasts and, we're trying to find different material to do, which is still a lot of stuff to do. But this was just right on time. They said we knew about this last year when they had first did the first trailer. And it was supposed to be coming out in June, but public said, nah, we need this now. We need it like right now, like today. So they finally did it. I was glad that they put it out there right now. And I was super excited. So I'm just glad that we finally get to see the behind the scenes of one of the greatest dynasties ever in basketball.
Yeah. I was crazy excited. I was on your show on Saturday. We were talking about it.
Yeah,
man. Jordan is an idol in sports. He's an idol in the NBA. He's the GOAT as far as I'm concerned. So being able to find this, it was great to finally see it and recognize it. But Al, give me your thoughts on waiting for it to be released and knew it was coming out.
I was excited. I was very excited. Just like the whole country, the whole world. I'm actually I'm always been into history of basketball, understanding the game, and watching this documentary makes me appreciate just these first two parts. Makes me appreciate LeBron, what LeBron did, what Kobe Bryant did, what the game of basketball is, and even going back to like Magic and Larry and their time in the league. So looking at the history, the first two parts was like, I was excited. And just to see how they just caught talking about the history of the torch being passed. So I was very excited and becoming even a historian of the game of basketball.
Yeah. It was crazy to see the impact that Jordan had on the game, the impact that the Bulls had on the game. Even that Celtics game, Larry Bird was like, man, I thought that was God. God was mad at us, basically. Yeah, right. Dennis Johnson was over there sweating, huffing and puffing. Bill Walton was getting nervous, trying to guard. So it was a new era in basketball when Jordan came through. Talk about some of the takeaways that you guys had. Give me 3 takeaways or 3 things you didn't know from the episode 1 and 2. Start with you, Courtney.
So one of the takeaways that I saw was I knew how much they didn't like Jerry Krause, but I didn't know to what extent. I knew that he was one of the guys that actually broke this team up, in '98. So we're thinking, why would you break up a dynasty when they were still winning? Like Jordan said in the video, he said, why would you break this up if we're winning? Like, we are still on top of our games. Why not bring back Phil Jackson? Why not bring Pippen back? all the guys back until we lose. We're winning until we lose. So with Jerry Krause, I knew there was a lot of turmoil because some of the decisions he made. And, he gets a bad rap because of what he's done, but he did draft a lot of guys. He did build that team around Jordan. He did get some credit, but it was the other thing, like his ego got the best of him too. So you pay Phil Jackson, you pay Scottie Pippen, pay Jordan, you pay those guys. So that was one of the takeaways that I didn't know, like how much that was, that turmoil. Other than that, everything else I kind of knew, but it was just good to see Jordan the way I think people forget how great Jordan really is. MJ's the GOAT, man. I mean, there's no question, never been no question. As much as I like LeBron, I like Kobe, all these guys, but Jordan paved the way for a lot of these guys. So just to show him what he was back in the day, the athleticism, the killer instinct, the drive, the will, just going up there and just dominating in all phases of the game. He was a dominant one-on-one player, then he became a dominant team player. So those are some of the takeaways I got from this documentary.
Yeah, and for me, it was the small things. Seeing Common was a ball boy. I didn't know that. That was funny. Seeing Scottie Pippen's brother, I didn't know Scottie Pippen's backstory. I didn't know he didn't make the college team. Coming when he got to University of Central Arkansas. So that was one couple of interesting parts of it. The other thing is just seeing Jordan when he first got drafted, and he didn't want to go out. He didn't want to be involved with whatever the players were doing. They were doing cocaine and doing all kinds of other things that he didn't want to have anything to do with. So Jordan was just focused on playing. So it was kind of those things. And then, like I said in my weekend wrap-up show earlier today, like, we're so spoiled. We want all of these episodes. We want to watch every last one of them right now. But I like the way they're doing it, how they're kind of doing 2 episodes at a time, because they want to feed that appetite. But they don't want to give us too much at one time. But Al, give me some takeaways that you have.
Man, y'all see, I got a list right here, stuff, man. I got man. All right. But one of the biggest takeaways I want to think about is Scottie Pippen, where he came from, and Dennis Rodman. So you pretty much had 2 NAIA players on a 72-win team, 69-13, and 60-22 team for that second three-peat, and how scouting was a lot different back in those times than it is now. And that was one of my biggest takeaways. I'm like, hold on, Scottie went to an NAIA school. Dennis Rodman came from a small school. And to mesh with a Michael Jordan, with a Steve Kerr who went to big-time Division I schools, and for this team to mesh, Luke Longley, Tony Kukoc from overseas. Jerry, you got to give credit to where credit is due. Jerry Krause did his homework.
Yeah.
The second takeaway is Jerry Krause is another form of an Al Davis and a Jerry Jones. Could not, was he didn't get the credit that he deserved, and he felt played. He felt like people were leaving him out. And so it was like he was like a bully trying to start a fight, picking on Phil Jackson and then messing with Michael Jordan. And you could see the tension in this documentary. And even at a little small side jokes Michael Jordan was making during the documentary about hey, Jerry, this. Hey, Jerry, that. Hey, Jerry, you want to do this? And just the side comments that they really had enough of Jerry Krause. And then I guess the third takeaway is the whole thing with Charles Oakley and how Charles Oakley was a big brother to Michael Jordan. And it was and Scottie Pippen to a certain extent. There was a little part where it was playing with Scottie Pippen his rookie year and kind of smacked him in the face.
He looked like a little kid.
That's a pimp slap. Come on, man, you're a rookie. Yeah,
bro. I was laughing. Yeah. I was at work watching this. I was dying laughing. Did he just smack that man in the face? But just those 3 things in particular, how Oakley was the big brother, and they traded. I think the trade was Oakley for
Bill Cartwright.
Cartwright,
yeah.
right. Yep. And just the upgrade. I'm like, man, if Oakley was on that team, man, like Oakley already has the respect now But people remember Oakley more than Cartwright. I don't know. That's just my thing. People remember Oakley.
100%.
Yeah, and just like the lunch pail style that Oakley brought to the team, even in New York. And then I was like, okay, he did this in Chicago. So, okay, now I understand how Oakley's mindset and his thought process was, and just being there for Jordan. So those were my three things.
Great point. Yeah. You the Oakley part was interesting because I didn't know him and Jordan was that close.
Yeah.
I didn't know that they had any type of bond at all because when he went to the Knicks, they hated each other. The Knicks and Bulls, whenever they faced each other, when it came to conference finals, when it came to the playoffs or whatever.
Yeah.
So that was a very good takeaway from that. I'm glad you brought that up. And you're seeing a young Oakley with the high top, with the Gumby.
Right. Yeah.
that was good to see, man. It brought back a nostalgia because I was 1997. I was 15. I don't really remember a lot of that. I don't remember, Scottie Pippen going through the contract issue. That part to me kind of blew me away. He was like sixth highest paid on the team. They had Steve. I think Steve Kerr was making more than him. Leek Longley, Tony Kukoc.
Right.
Like that's disrespectful. Now they said that they didn't want to redo contracts. Once you sign it. But this is not your regular old person. This is Scottie Pippen who deserves. And then 122 in the league. When I seen that, I was like, "Come on, they doing Scottie dirty." I'm like, this was the beginning of the players starting to gain that power. Jordan already had it, and he was making the most on the team. But Scottie deserved it, and that talks about the Mike Conleys of the world, the John Walls, all those kind of second tier guys that want that money, and nowadays they're getting it. But Courtney, talk about that. Did you know about Pippen and the contract dispute they were having?
Yeah, I did know about that. I knew it was very low because at the time when Pippen got that contract, it was a 7-year deal, I think, and I think it was worth like $18 million or something like that for 7 years. So so he was the lowest, like I said, sixth lowest player making the most money on the team. So I kind of didn't know that, and then he didn't get his money until he left Chicago and went to Houston. He signed a 5-year deal worth, I think it was like $100-something million, something like that. So he got paid later. But all those years, Pippen was in his prime during Dream Team, the Dream Team season. The 92, that's when the Bulls were on their second championship that year. So Pippen was one of the top players for 6-7 years straight. So Pippen should have been paid enough. And the funny thing is, Reinsdorf, the owner, he said to Pippen, "Don't sign this contract, man, because you're about to get paid. You can get paid more." But Pippen was trying to get a contract just so he had the family issues. He had some health issue with his family, so he just signed a long-term deal then. But it was way low, and he told him, "You're going to be better than this contract. You're going to play out this contract. Don't sign a 7-year deal." So another thing you said about Jordan and his contract. Jordan, the last 2 years, I think he was getting like $35 million 1 year, $36 million another year. So Jordan basically started the 1 year, 30 plus, you can opt out after 1 year. So now LeBron's doing it, KD's doing it. These guys are signing 1-2 years, opt in, opt out type of contract. So Jordan started that too. So that's another thing that Jordan kind of started up with the league. Now, how much money the league makes now, people can get $200 million for 4 years. So Jordan started that. So it was the Pippen thing was crazy because, like I said, he was one of the top 2-3 players. I think in the 97 run, I think it was. Jordan said himself he wasn't even the best player on the floor anymore. He said Scottie Pippen was. So that I don't believe that. Jordan still was the best player, but you know how good Pippen was becoming. I can't win without Pippen. So I didn't win all these championships without Pippen. So Pippen was very, very valuable to that squad.
Yeah, and I think the injury part too. I don't remember that he was holding out. Him and Jerry Krause, I didn't know how seriously they were going at it. Well, it was more of a one-sided thing. It wasn't really Jerry Krause didn't probably have any comebacks for Scottie. But and we forget Scottie was one of those 50 best players. You remember they did that? I don't remember what year that was, but Scottie
was 97.
97.
Scottie was one of those guys.
97. Yeah.
So like the amount of disrespect that Scottie had to be feeling. I don't think anyone in this era right now can understand that. That would be like LeBron making $7 million a year. That's almost what that would equal to. And Scotty was pissed, so I definitely get it. But what was your thoughts on the whole situation with Scotty and Jerry Krause and money and injuries and everything?
Man, I remember. Both of y'all are older than me, so I remember the '98 year, the last year. I remember the part about the injury with Scottie Pippen, and I remember their early struggles, but I didn't know how bad it was because I always remember telling people, I said, look, if Phil Jackson goes, Michael's going to go. If Michael goes, Scotty's going to go. Then Dennis Rodman. So for this to play out, how it played out and how many issues, man, I'm surprised they made it through the entire season. Yeah. Going the whole 97, 98 season with everything going on. Like, to literally, you've been feeling played for 7 years. But I asked the question to Jerry Reinsdorf, the owner. Okay, if I'm the owner, yeah, I tell Scotty, hey, look, you shouldn't sign that contract. But it's like, I believe he gave Jerry Reinsdorf gave Jerry Krause a little bit too much power. And he should have just stepped in and been like, okay, I'm going to take care of Scotty. He's like nearly the second best player in the world right now. And he's getting pennies compared to Michael Jordan. And so my question is, Jerry Reinsdorf, like, why didn't you step in and let's go ahead and work this contract out and renegotiate this? And then you look at it, Michael Jordan retired for 18 months and Pittman was still one of the lowest paid players in the league.
Right. And one of the best players, right.
And at the time had like an MVP type of year.
Yep. And
probably could have went to the NBA Finals had not been for, like, I think they ran into the Knicks in the second round.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Starks, Ewing.
Ewing, yeah. Mason.
And not to cut you off, but that year when the Bulls got to the, there was semifinals they got to that year. There was a play, I think it was game 4. It was in New York. The Bulls were about to go on 3-1, and there was a phantom foul call. Hubert Davis kicked his leg out like Reggie Miller on a 3-point shot. Pippen didn't even touch him. He went right past him. Hubert Davis flopped, and then that was it right there. I'm like, oh, this series is over. So, Pippen was on a mission that year, too, man, 94.
Yeah, he was trying to prove something.
I don't know if they would have beat Houston, but just to get there, how much that would have put stock in his, trying to win without Jordan?
Right. Exactly.
And Al, to your point, it was almost like the owner, Jerry Reinsdorf, was just like, I'm going to give all the keys to Jerry Krause, and I'm just going to let my franchise, I'm just going to stick my hands up and let my franchise do whatever it's going to do. Like, to me, that was like the underlying issue that they didn't really talk about, but you could see it. That Reinsdorf was not a basketball guy. Maybe he was just like, I'm going to leave this to the GM. He's going to play his role. I'm going to play my role. But in the background, he had to have been seeing what was going on. And then they could have won 2 or 3 more championships, if not more. That's just how great that nucleus was. You had guys that played their exact role. You had every guy that played his role. Rodman didn't care about scoring. Scotty could play D and could score. And Jordan was Jordan. So whatever you had around the other 2 or 3 guys, they just needed to spot up and shoot, or they needed to get rebounds and get an alley-oop down low or something.
Right.
Man, they had enough shooters too. They had shooters.
And they played them role I always think about that time to time with that 72-10 team. Mm-hmm. Like that's that whole. I remember we had the Jet magazine, and they had the whole starting 5 on the Jet magazine.
Yeah.
Luke Longley, Harper, and I'm like, the only 2 scorers in that starting lineup was Jordan and Pittman, and everybody else was defensive and rebounding situation. Your big time shooters on the outside came off the bench. Kerr, Kukoc. I'm like, this was the dominance of this, man. Like, wow.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
So the opening of the documentary, it starts off talking about North Carolina which I figured they were going to do more on Jordan because Jordan's the Bulls, the whole story. And so I appreciated all that. Y'all know I'm a North Carolina fan, so I was getting goosebumps seeing Roy Williams talking to Jordan like, hey, you want to be the best? And he was like, yeah. So, like, why are you trying to be like everybody else? So he was in the gym, James Worthy, like that. Let's just pause for a minute, talk about that North Carolina team. James Worthy, Sam Perkins, Phil Ford, I think was on that team too. Jordan, I mean, that whole team, probably that whole starting five went to the NBA. I think McAdoo was maybe on that team, but that goes back to the dynasty of North Carolina, which I've known that my whole life. And like I said on Courtney's show, I compare Michael Jordan to my dad just because he grew up in North Carolina, and he even said it like, you know, him going to UNC was like a dream come true for anybody in North Carolina, him growing up in Wilmington. So it was great to see that backstory. I love backstories. I love to see what happened to everybody, where they grew up, you know, who their family is. So that was kind of one of the biggest parts that I enjoyed from the beginning.
Yeah, I agree with that because, like I said, if he went from Mike Jordan to Michael Jordan just because of that, that shot,
right? That shot,
the shot that he against Georgetown. And another thing too, from that team, James Worthy had said, I'm the best player on this team for about 2 weeks. He just knew how good Jordan was. He saw it. Like, he saw it. Bob Knight saw it when they went to the '84 Olympics. That North Carolina team was stacked. And then we went back and forth with, and they thought James Worthy was going to get the last shot because he was the best player at that time. But then they said, Jordan's going to be open in the wing, and he hit it. And that's what started the legacy of Michael Jordan.
Yeah, and the other part of that too was, Worthy was definitely the leader of that team, and he was probably supposed to be the guy to get the shot, like you said. But when Jordan hit that shot, it was like everybody knew exactly who he was. And like you said, his name changed. But when he was in the NBA and he started, he was like 3 chains. I think he had 3 gold chains on. It was almost like chokers too.
Right.
But Jordan changed styles. That's where the shorts came in. So I don't know, I think when people say he's the GOAT not just for everything he's done in the NBA. Obviously, that's A1, but changing the jerseys, the shoes. I didn't know about signature shoes until Jordan. You could do a whole documentary on his shoes, period. Because from the first one to, I don't even know where they are now, probably 33 or 34.
33.
Yeah, and, with Zion and all these different players signing on, Jordan changed the NBA. And that's the part that I think people, you forget. When you see LeBron and you see Kobe and you start to see these newcomers, you start to forget what Jordan done.
Right. He was a fashion statement because most people don't play in Jordans. People wear Jordans out.
Exactly.
Man, if I'm going running, I'm wearing New Balance before Michael Jordan shoes. That's my preference.
Oh,
but to add to your backstory, man, when I saw Roy Williams, I had goosebumps because I looked at the history. He was a coach at Kansas. If you look at Dean Smith came from Kansas. Bill Guthridge came from Kansas. They were all under Fog Allen. And so all that history came back to Kansas and Kansas lower basketball. And what Roy learned under Dean Smith and brought to Kansas and took it to a different level. Even you look back at Larry Brown. Larry Brown coached that '88 championship team, and he played under Dean Smith. So just the blue blood ties of North Carolina and Kansas basketball, man, man, I was like, man, this is great history, right? This is great.
Exactly.
This is great. This is great stuff right here.
Right. This is great basketball history. Period.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. So as we get kind of towards the end here, what are you guys looking forward to in episode 3 and 4? They gave us a little bit of a preview, but what are you looking forward to in episode 3 and 4? I'll start with you, Al.
I'm looking forward to the understanding of passing of the torch. And because I've seen the other stories with 30 for 30 when they did the Bad Boy and they talked about Isaiah against they had the Jordan rules. So I'm looking forward to understanding maybe about the Jordan rules and understanding the Magic versus Michael rivalry. Because they did talk about Larry when they went to in 1 and 2 when Jordan played them in the Boston Garden. So I'm looking forward to them talking about the Magic versus Michael NBA Finals and the Jordan rules if they get on that, because I want to hear what Jordan had to say about that. This sounds juicy right now.
Oh yeah,
you know.
we about to get to the meat.
Yeah.
But Courtney, what are you looking forward to episode 3 and 4?
I agree with Al, man. I'm looking. Like I said, I know a lot about. Like I said, we're all historians of the NBA, and I just want to see that story again. Like the Jordan rules. I read that book by Sam Smith. I read that, and that was a good book. I mean, now to put it out on on TV, on video, I look forward to that. I want to see that rivalry, because when the Pistons and Bulls, they hated each other, and then when they used to beat up on the Bulls, the bad boys, they beat them on everybody, but they beat them on the Bulls like crazy. They wouldn't let Jordan do anything. They told Scottie Pippen he was soft. So I'm looking forward to that, because then Jordan said, okay, we got to lift weights, we got to get stronger, we're gonna take over, we're gonna take this over. And now they're talking about even 20-something years later, Isaiah has one side of the story when they walked off the court in Chicago. Jordan's like, that's BS, man. He said, it wasn't like that. Y'all disrespected us. We took over, and now we took y'all out. Show some respect. We showed y'all respect. Y'all showed us respect. They hate each other to this day. Scottie Pippen cannot stand Isaiah Thomas to this day.
Right.
If they seen each other on the same side of the street, Scottie going across the street.
Right. So that history there, and they also showed a preview of when Rodman gets on the team on Chicago, that whole dynamic, how it worked, how part of it didn't work. So, I mean, they won 3 championships, so Rodman was just doing his own thing, Dane Carmel lecturer, doing all types of stuff. So I want to get back and watch all of that. So, I'm looking forward to
But I'm not to cut you. I'm kind of glad like Michael Jordan waited for this to come out, because if you see before that, you had the Celtics versus Lakers documentary, you had the Bad Boys documentary come out, you had the Rodman documentary come out, and so they was telling pieces of a little bit about Jordan, and so I guess I don't know if Jordan was collecting all this information, and now it's like, okay, we're gonna go ahead and bring it out. Let me give you my version of what's going on.
Yes.
So that's why I'm excited. And also to add to that too, I want to find out, I don't know if they're going to touch on this in 3 or 4, but I want to find out what happened with Doug Collins. That's another mystery to me.
Yeah. Definitely.
Yeah. I'm very much so looking forward to it. I think episode 3 and 4, I'm looking forward to Dennis Rodman. I didn't see, I know there was a 30 for 30, I believe, or some type of documentary for him. I didn't see that. So I'm looking forward to the Dennis Rodman aspect of it when he came on the team. Hopefully they do a backstory on him, because when he went from the Pistons to the Spurs, it was like something changed in his, I guess, just in his makeup and what he wanted to present himself as. So I'm interested to hear that, and I'm just soaking up all of it. Like when episode 1 was over, I almost like fell down on the floor, kind of like in a ball in a fetal position, because I'm like, you got to give me more, man. You can't just give me one episode.
Yeah.
So then when it was like episode 2, I was like, okay, we're getting more, and that's when I realized, okay, we're getting 2 episodes. So 3 and 4 is gonna be great. We got to do this next week. If y'all down, maybe we can get Eric on too. We can do this for each Monday while the season's going on. Or the series
I'm down.
Going on.
Yeah,
I'm
down.
down. Yep. Me too.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let everybody know, Courtney, what your latest show was about and what you may have coming up in the future for future shows.
Yeah, we had last weekend. We had Ben was on the show. Had a lot of great guests. We talked about this documentary. We did the NFL draft, the WNBA draft. We talked about. You can check it out all on BS3Radio.com, also Spreaker.com/BS3Radio. Next week might just do a NFL draft recap. So that's what. So be on the lookout for all of that on Get the Real Deal.
All right, and Al, I'm loving the background, kind of like a Chargers. But let me know your previous show and then what you have coming up.
So I had the opportunity of interviewing two of my college roommates. I had an honorary roommate and a roommate because the honorary one, Malcolm, he always was over every day during college, during that semester. But I was able to talk to those two guys about topics of sports, and it's like barbershop talk with those guys. You can check it out, The Casual Highlight, BS3Radio.com. What we have coming up this week, I'm doing an interview with a guy named O.C. Anderson, and he's a producer at WBRZ in Baton Rouge. He's a TV production producer. And I went to college with him, and we're just going to talk about life and sports and being in production. Also got Courtney Harding coming in later on in the week, and we're just going to just chop it up. So 2 shows coming out this week from The Casual Highlight.
Let's go. So as far as for me, I'm continuing a series on frontline heroes of coronavirus. So I'm going to interview an ER nurse this week, just going to talk about the experiences she has. She has a podcast as well. And then I'm going to interview a sports journalist. He's also kind of switching over into becoming like an agent. So I'll be talking to him and, had the show earlier today, whenever you're watching this, the weekend wrap-up show. But find us on all avenues of social media. Enter into the BS3 Radio Gear giveaways. It's very easy to do. You got 3 ways. You can go on to YouTube, subscribe, click the bell, screenshot it, send it to me or any one of us. If you follow either one of us, you got our phone numbers. The other option is do the same thing on iTunes. Subscribe, leave a review, screenshot it, sign up for the email list. I'll have all that information in the show notes right here on YouTube. So make sure to subscribe, click that bell. You can be on top of whatever content that we put out. All avenues of social media, BS3 Radio. Y'all have a good one.
All right, you too.
All right,
Thanks,
take care.
All right, peace.